What's up, everyone? Coach Tony here with UC Admission Secrets. Welcome back to another live training. It is Monday, March 29th, right? Admission season is coming to a close, right? All the schools are slowly releasing their admissions. If you are in this group, when you're focused on the UC applications, right? The last UC Berkeley just announced their decision. So it means all nine have said yes or no. So by now, you should know if your child got in or not, if they're a senior. And that is the fun things you'll see on social media, on Instagram, everywhere of like, I got in or I didn't get in, and what to do from there. But today we're gonna keep celebrating the wins. Last week I brought in Chloe. She's one of my amazing students. Out of state, gone to all of her UCs, and fun update for you all. She also gone to Berkeley. So super proud and pumped for her. Today we have another rock star student of mine. She's in my platinum coaching program. She's a super rock star. She applied to 6 UCs and got into all 6 UCs, including UCLA and UC Berkeley as well too. I think talking to all my students, I'm like, I remember like this year, Berkeley, LA, and all these UCs have really, really low admission rates. But with my success with my cohorts, dude, I think like at least higher than 90% of all the students got into all their top schools. So super, super pumped. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring Warsha on. She'll do a very quick intro, and we'll go ahead and start the student spotlight. So,
All right. Hi,
hello.
everyone. My name is Warsha. I'm currently a senior. And just like Coach said, I got into, the 6 UCs that I applied to. And yeah, I'm 18. That's my age. But yeah, that's basically things about me.
Super awesome. Cool. So this little fun chat we're gonna have for next like 30, 40-ish minutes. Maybe I think I'm thinking 2 main parts. The first part, let's chat about high school. I think a lot of parents in this group want to know like, okay, what's the secrets to get in kind of thing. And I think as time goes on, you see that there's a lot of different there's no magic form, there's no magic bullet that gets it, but it's always fun to kind of hear like the students who got in, their stats, what they did, just to kind of see if there's any trends between all the students that got in. So real quick, if you want to go ahead and let's talk academics first. So how are you academically? What classes you take from freshman year up to senior year?
All right. So when I started, high school in 9th grade, my focus was primarily, to get all A's, straight A's. But then once I kind of went into 10th grade and 11th grade, I kind of became more of a social student. So I got into more of the clubs and activities that I started off with. So I would say like I did take about 9 APs during my high school years, like about 2 in sophomore, then 3 in 11th grade, and then 4 right now in my senior year. So I would say like as of like academic rigor, I did have a good amount of APs that I did take in honors classes. Yeah.
Awesome, super cool. In terms of activities, then let's jump over to activities. What were you involved in? Like, were you involved in clubs, sports, any volunteering, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so at school, I did some other extracurriculars, but outside of school as well. But in school, I was mainly into clubs. I was in National Honor Society. I joined that around in 10th grade because you're eligible to join NHS starting in 10th grade. And I was selected for the leadership position of sophomore secretary during my sophomore year, and then junior secretary during my junior year, and then senior year, I am a co-president of NHS. And then for another club that I'm really passionate towards is UNICEF. And that club I joined during around my end of my sophomore, beginning of my junior year, and I became vice president. And then now I'm also a co-president of UNICEF at our school. And my El Camino is my high school, by the way. And then also I'm a PCC, which means that I'm a peer college counselor, which means I work with the college counselors at my school, kind of helping other students through like college presentations, just kind of helping them through the college journey, because a lot of them do lack the resources, like they don't have other parents or siblings that have gone to a university, so just like me, and I'm like that as well. So helping them is also something that I love to do. But in terms of clubs, those are my clubs that I did in school. But then outside of school, I'm a dancer. I'm a traditional Sri Lankan dancer. It's part of my culture that, that I kind of like to represent even after I came from Sri Lanka. And yeah, and I'm a Buddhist, so I go to temples and multiple of those ceremonies. But yeah, those are kind of my main things that I do.
Super awesome. You're super involved, super smart. Let's jump to one more category. I think that the next other category every parent asks is like test scores, right? The SAT and the ACT. Can you share a little bit about your scores? What magical scores got you into UCLA, Berkeley, and all these amazing schools?
Okay, so the surprising thing that you guys won't really, know like right away is that I did not take the SAT or ACT officially, and I did not send the scores. The main reason was because of the pandemic. I really didn't have the opportunity to go to a testing site to actually take the test, and also, to be honest, like I wasn't that of a good test taker. Like my academic life was like I'm very like competitive and I do get very good grades, but then in terms of taking a time test like the SAT or ACT, I wasn't as strong. But the main reason that I didn't take it was because of the pandemic, but I still got into these universities.
Super amazing. Did you explain that did you explain on the app somewhere that you didn't take the tests?
I did not. No, I did not.
Super cool. Awesome. All right. So that's all. That's super interesting kind of hear people. So I think you're the first two I've talked to that didn't take the test and gone to one of these top schools as well, to definitely showing how admissions is changing. And people think, a lot of people ask me like, what GPA did your students get? What test scores? I'm like, and it's like, a lot of my students actually didn't get a 4.0, or they didn't get they even take it even for you. They didn't even take the test as well too.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting how admissions is changing kind of thing. So it's super awesome having someone there to kind of know the process as well too. So let's flash for a little bit. So then now, senior year, why did you apply to the schools that you applied to? Yeah, if you can answer that question.
Yeah. So basically, I kind of wanted to stay in California just because, I didn't want to go too far away from my home. So I wanted to apply to mainly UCs and CSUs. I did apply to 4 CSUs and I got into all 4 of them, Fullerton, Northridge, and also San Diego State University. Yeah, so basically I chose and Long Beach. So those were the 4 CSUs that I applied to, and also the UCs, the 6 that I applied to, I got into those as well.
Super cool. Very nice. So boom, boom, boom. So I think we meet, right? We meet around this time as well too. And we worked on your applications. We work a lot on your personal insight questions.
Oh yeah.
Let's chat about
Shout
the
out
personal
to
insight.
Coach. Yes, I'm very happy. Coach was a big part of my journey, like college admissions journey, and I think he was one of the main factors that I did get into these colleges because, during the the calls that we had with like all the other students, definitely helped me a lot. So yeah, thank you so much for you.
Oh, thank you for being amazing. All right. So going back to the personal insight question. So I think we talked about a little bit last week with Chloe. Let's kind of share a little more about this because I haven't talked about this concept too much with the parents here. But the personal insight question, you have 8 prompts to pick from. You pick 4. If you want to share kind of which 4, if you can remember them, it's been a while now, but which 4 you chose and kind of like or maybe 1 or 2 like topics you talked about. You want to share about that?
Yeah. So one of the major things that Coach Tony actually taught me was that anything that you do, you need to understand the purpose or like the why behind it. I still remember like the words that he told me, and the questions that I chose was basically the leadership one. I think that's question 1, but I'm not really sure. But it was something about what is one of your leadership abilities and how do you explain, like how do you demonstrate it through your community or your students, right? And one of the major things that I talked about was PCC, and that's the peer college counselor. And I think the most unique thing that I did that I think a lot of people didn't do that Coach taught me was that you have to make it more personalized, something about you. So like, why was it special to me? Not just like what do I do in general, but why did I apply to that? And that is because I'm also from a more of a low income middle class family, and I didn't have a lot of those resources. So I looked towards those PCCs and college counselors to guide me. So the fact that I also want to guide people just like me, so that is why I chose that. And I did definitely explain that throughout my question, like my answer for that question.
Super awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I think I like tell my students like the PIQ, I think, is by far the most. I think we spent the most time on that compared to everything else in the application. I think we spent majority of students. That was the biggest part and biggest chunk that I spend work with all my students on, because that is like the biggest make it or break it from my experience as well too. Anything else? Any other tricks or secrets or like strategies that I taught you that you want to share
Yeah.
with other parents as well too?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So another thing that I also like thought about was like my culture, what makes me unique. And candy and dancing, which is like a Sri Lankan traditional dancing, was something that I was committed to since I was a very young child. So just from the age of 5 to now 18, that I still continue it was something that I definitely explained in my application for like the artistic. There's like a creative side, like question like that, right? So I did answer that regarding how I came from Sri Lanka, the fact that I was born and raised there, to coming to America and still wanting to keep those roots with me, and like pursuing the dance that I did in Sri Lanka in America as well. So I definitely explained a lot about how my culture really enhanced my life and how that made me unique.
Super awesome. Cool. We'll do maybe one more question about the high school side. And parents, if you have any questions, or if you're watching here on any other platform, feel free to drop your questions in the comments. We'll probably do a Q&A at the very end. But one last thing, just to I think for me for this be like a personal question to where I can learn about this. Like, where do you think I played the biggest role as a coach for you throughout this whole process? What do you like most about it as well too?
Yeah, so the place that you helped me the most, coach, was with the PIQs, the personal insight questions. I remember like asking you, and you actually went through one of my questions or a couple of them, and you like gave me direct feedback. And definitely like the few words that you told me, and like how I kind of took it into my mind, and how I took my own time to kind of develop like what exactly you said and kind of connected it to what I was gonna write, was definitely something that you helped me the most with. And also the program that you did, like the UC, I think it was Advantage program or something that you did, like with multiple sessions. I went through all of them and I answered the questions, and yeah, that definitely helped me a lot too, coach.
Super, super awesome. Fantastic. All right, let's move forward. Let's bring to why you're here. So I think Warsha messaged me all the amazing news. I got pumped after every single, hey, got this school, got this school, and Berkeley, I was super excited. And then she was like, hey, now what? Like, where should I go? So this is more for like me and her. I want to bring everyone in, kind of see like the back end as well too. Kind of see how I coach for those who haven't seen me coach before as well too. So this is like a me and you conversation now. So we'll just chat. There'll be random virtual people watching us chat, but then it's super cool. So I think for me, we're talking back to you. So you got into 6 amazing schools. I think the first thing I want to let you know, no matter kind of where you choose, right? All 6, I know you have a few Cal States too. So maybe even they're on the table as well too. No matter kind of where you choose, any school is amazing. Right. I think a lot of students. So you're on the one spectrum where you got into every school. You're super pumped. You have to pick now. I do work with other students who like couldn't make into some of their dream schools, but they've still gone to amazing schools as well too. And so I'm gonna spend my next 4 weeks basically trying to convince them that like, hey, no matter where you go, you're gonna have an amazing time. I think the biggest thing is not the school, not the major. It's basically how are you taking advantage of the opportunities you're given at that location, right? So. I had a student who last year they couldn't get into UCLA, right? Super bummed out. That was their dream school. They got into UCI though, right? Still another amazing school, right? But then they're like, oh, I'm super bummed. I'm whatever. So I told them, just go UCI. Worst comes to worst, you can go back home, go community college, try again, right? Transfer. That's
Exactly.
the route as well too.
Yeah.
But I told them, stick it out. You'll be fine. They were hating it all through summer, and then the first few months of college, like they ghosted me. I'm like, what happened? We started not talking to me. And I finally got in contact like December-ish time. And I'm seeing all these pictures. They're having a blast and all this stuff. I think the biggest thing is you got to find your own community. So no matter where you go, it's a coaching tip for you. Find your own community, right? So I know you do that dance group, right? Try to find, is there a community like that on campus as well too, right? And the minute you find these small communities, because the UCs are huge, right? No matter which UC you go into, there's like 30,000 students. That's huge compared to what you're used to from high school. Yeah. So the biggest thing is finding your small knit community there, and then find the resource to help you with your goals, kind of no matter where you go. Right. So that's my first like general tip for you as well too. But 2, if I was to say right now, because you have 6, right? If I was to tell you right now, what are the top 3, like from your gut? What would you say those top 3 Yeah, 10
Okay,
seconds.
my top three, UCLA was something that I wanted to get in starting freshman year. So I'm very happy that I got into that. And also UC Irvine was something that I wanted to get into starting like junior year. I was more focused on UC Irvine instead of UCLA, but I know both of them are amazing schools. And also UC San Diego is another one that I really like because, it looks very beautiful and I think it's a great school too.
Super awesome. So for me, I would look at those three first. Those are the
Yeah.
I basically forget the other three,
Uh-huh.
even though I'm kind of sad you didn't pick Berkeley.
No,
I think
it's too far away from
for
my
me,
home.
I think at the end of the day, it's by
Uh-huh.
well, a lot of this decision these next few steps are all gut,
Mhm.
right? It's all gut. Like eventually you're gonna be like, what major should I do? That's
Yeah.
down to gut. Is that what
Mhm.
career move, what job, all this stuff? A lot of it comes down to gut. And if you ask a lot of the parents here, like, why
Mhm.
you do what you did, I made a choice that just kept going, kind of thing. So at
Mhm.
the end, I had to like pressure you, like, hey, you got 10 seconds, pick the top three. You
Yeah.
pick three. Right. So because at the end of the day, in the back of your head, these are the top three that you'll be the most happy. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing, right? So now you have these three, right? So let's say you're choosing between LA, Irvine, San Diego. The next biggest thing I would recommend, same thing, I would also ignore major, right? Major, no matter where you go to, it's gonna be amazing. You're gonna find the classes you're gonna love. You're gonna find the professors that are awesome
Yes.
at any of these schools, especially I know you're a bio major, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Pre-med also?
Yes.
Awesome. So UCs, you can't go wrong. Any UC pre-med, you'll be set, right? Everyone has
Yeah.
different programs to help you along that
Mhm.
path. There's a program I recommend called the Biology Scholars Program.
Mhm.
I know several schools offer that, or each school calls it something differently. But those who are down the pre-med route, it's
Mhm.
basically a department or like a little program inside the biology department that their whole goal is to create like better doctors and amazing doctors in the future, kind of thing. So they'll provide you free tutoring, they'll give you free resources. Later on, you'll be taking the MCAT, they'll give you resources for that. So a bunch of different resources for you is kind of where I'd go as well too. And then there's a bunch of free resources in college. So I think your first year, I think pause. We'll look at that in a bit. But so you have three schools. The next thing I would tell you next is the city, right? So the city is the next thing, just because you're going to school, yes, but you also gotta live there
Yeah.
for at least 4 years, if not more,
Yes. Four,
right?
six,
So
eight.
you
I
have
don't
to
know.
enjoy. You
Mhm.
have to enjoy where you're gonna be at, because if you're going somewhere and you hate it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like for example, let's say, let's say for example, Merced, right? So let's throw
Yeah.
Merced in there. Merced, a
Uh-huh.
lot of people love Merced. It's an awesome school, super cute school. If you want a very like tight knit community, they're super
Mhm.
tight knit. I like the most out of all the UCs.
Uh-huh.
But you're surrounded by cows. Some people love that. Some people aren't fond of being surrounded by cows. So but that's the city
Yeah.
side of it, right? And then, but some people like that. So I think for you, what would you say is your ideal like surrounding? Like, where do you see yourself studying
Mhm.
outside of school or finding a job? What
Mhm.
type of environment do you see yourself doing?
I mean, I want like I'm more of like a city, like not too much, not like too much of a city, but like right now I live in like LA, so like that type of community where there's like you can be with your friends and you can have that like close like connection, but at the same time, you like I don't want to be too competitive and that like I don't want my focus to only be on like school, but I want to focus on like how do I join all these other associations within school and make these new experiences.
Yeah, I think if that's the case, you can't really go wrong too much with any of the three options you kind of chose.
Uh-huh.
UC San Diego I think out of the three has the most unique
Uh-huh.
background. If you have the opportunity to, I would visit
Uh-huh.
the areas at least, or
Okay.
if they're closed, just do your own
Mhm.
tour, like make your
Mhm.
own tour out of it. I think have fun. But I think once you go on campus, now that you got in, because I don't pay a lot of people tour before they even get
Yeah.
into schools, which is cool,
Uh-huh.
right? That's
Uh-huh.
awesome. But I think going to the schools now that you got in,
Mhm.
there's something I can't explain this. A lot of my friends can't explain it either. There's a feeling you get once you walk on the campus and you're like, this is it.
This
Right?
is mine. Yeah, I get
This
it.
is it. Like for me, I felt that at Berkeley. I went to Berkeley and I just had that like, I don't know why. It's so weird. It's so
Yeah.
dirty compared to all the other.
Yeah.
Like UCLA is really pretty. Berkeley
Yeah.
is complete opposite. There's trash on the ground everywhere. It's not. But I walked on and I was like, dude, I
Yeah.
belong here, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I I actually did coach for a dancing competition for the Canadian dancing that I did. I did go to UCLA a couple of years ago, the Royce Hall. I performed
Mhm.
there.
Super
But
nice.
no, I definitely understood. Like I for some reason at that time felt like this is where I wanted to come to. But I did feel that about UCLA though.
No,
Yes.
I think yes. I would recommend going there and just getting the
Yeah,
vibe.
again. Yes,
But
that's what
also when
I
you visit the city, I think this is a lot thing that a lot of students miss. They kind of stay only on the campus, and this is cool. All the campuses are awesome. It's the city life that you kind
Yeah.
of low key want to check out and see if you like it. Because I know LA, traffic's insane over there. Traffic's insane around
Yeah.
UCLA, but a lot of things are in walking distance. Like their downtown is like literally like across the
Yeah.
street from the school.
Yeah.
So it's super awesome there. UCI, it's a driving city, so it's definitely you would like to have a car there. That's the same thing with San Diego as well too.
Yeah.
San Diego, and yeah, and I think the biggest thing is one is the city
Mhm.
is if you have the chance to visit them.
Mhm.
That's my tip for visiting them. The other tip I have for when deciding like which school, I would talk to students at that school. I think for me that's like the biggest thing. I'll tell you yes or no right away as well too, because like what you read in the school website, what you hear from like the ambassadors at the school, they always brag about their school, right? Which is cool, which is awesome. All the schools are awesome at this, but you want to know the reality of like what's the real thing about Berkeley? What's the real thing about LA? What's the real about UCI kind of thing?
Yeah.
Right? Like for example, let's being like facts, right? If you want a party, UCI is probably not the best school there. They do have a party scene, but it's not like the most. It's very
Yeah.
low key. UCI is very low key versus San Diego and LA. They're much more in the party scene than UCI is kind of thing. And it's like it's reality, you know. We people parents so like parties, but it's part of reality as well too. So I think talking to students is the biggest thing that I recommend. I have friends from all those schools that you want to mention. I can share after this call. I'll give you direct you can chat with them.
That would be great.
But if you want to do it for yourself and anyone as well too, I would search up like Instagram. People always post like their school in their bio. So it's like UCLA, UCI. You'll find everyone on there that way. The more professional way of doing it is LinkedIn. Open a LinkedIn account, and then searching up by the schools and asking them. And I would ask a recent graduate, not a one who's been there super long time ago, like the past years only, because a lot of things have changed with schools. And just asking them, hey, what are your experiences? I would actually learn what they don't like about it, and that means much more than what they did like about it, because like people are gonna not like a lot of things about different schools, right? But for a lot of like, can you deal with it? You know, like Berkeley. Speaking of Berkeley as well too, like it's a big hill. That's one of the big negatives, right? It's a big hill. Your walking's crazy, but I'm like, for me, it's not too big of a bad deal. Like not too bad, kind of thing. You know, it's very dirty everywhere. There's trash on the ground everywhere. Yeah, I can live with that. It's not too bad as well too. So it's like learning what the negatives are from that school from students who go there. I think that's the big one, and the more authentic you get, the better. That's why when I bring in like key guest speakers, I always bring like people who like are super authentic, super honest, not like the my school is the best because it's so. And like if you love it, like I love Berkeley, right? I can say like a list of like 30 things I hate about Berkeley kind of thing. But then for some people, like I can live with all that. Let me still go there as well too, and I will still go back to Berkeley if the opportunity arises again as well too. So talking to students is another big key one. There's also something really cool. Every school that you got into, I know they host like a yield program. Yield, YIELD. So basically, it's admitted seniors. They do something. It's different this year, but then typically, right? Maybe next year, so in class of 2022 might get this experience, but then they'll actually bring you on campus. They'll pay for your housing. They'll pay for your food for like a weekend, so you can experience the school as well too. I know a bunch of your schools have that. But this year it's gonna be a little bit non-traditional. I think we were talking a little bit about this. That schools have offered stuff, but it's not like I know Berkeley, we offer a program called Senior Weekend. Senior Weekend. I know we talked about UCLA offers a similar type of program. I think they call it Admit Weekend is their thing. UCI, their group that hosts. I know the group that hosts it is a SOAR, SOAR, and then the group from San Diego that hosts is called Spaces. Spaces, and then for UCLA, the group is called CPO.
Uh-huh.
So those are the groups that host like these overnight host programs or these like bringing you onto campus, and it definitely serves like students of these are the ones who serve like students of color,
Mhm.
geared towards like the more lower income folks kind of
Mhm.
thing. I know the university has their own overnight host program, but you gotta
Uh-huh.
pay for those, and
Yeah.
then that's that. But these other organizations, they actually want like to increase the student of color rates at these universities, so they do these. They have a budget for it. They bring
Mhm.
students in. I talked to Berkeley. I know they're for sure doing it virtually this year. They
Uh-huh.
didn't do it last year, but this year they're doing it, but they're doing it virtually, which is weird. I can't picture it yet, but then they're doing it there. So it's gonna be a little weird for you this time. That's why if you can travel, like they're
Yes.
all three schools you're looking at not so far.
Yeah.
Because San Diego's probably like max 3 hour drive.
Yeah.
I want to. I always pick like a weekend or something just to drive, hang out in the city, hang out in the school. I think that will give you the best vibe of like this is it for me. But yeah,
Got it.
did that help a little bit for
Yeah,
you?
no, definitely. I think that was great. You gave me a lot of tips, so I will get into those and look at that. But there was a question that I wanted to talk
Mhm,
about,
sure.
Coach, regarding financial aid, right?
Yeah,
Because that's like also a big factor. Like as a student from like a more of a low
for sure.
income family, I definitely want to make sure that I choose the one that best, like kind of because I am a dependent. I my parents are the ones that my dad is the one that works, so it's like through his income as well. So I definitely want to choose something that's not too much of a financial
Mhm,
stress for them
sure,
either.
sure, sure. My tip. So first, I think we chat about before we went live, but if you want to share with people as well too, you actually got a really cool scholarship that you
Hmm.
were sharing with me. You want to go ahead and let people know what you got, and I'll
Yeah.
add more context and how cool it is.
Yeah. So basically, from like UCI, I got Regents Scholarship. And basically, I got like $5,000 a year, and also it had like other tips, like other benefits of like I guess housing, like picking first, and like a lot of those types of things that are like beneficial to me. So that was it's something that I really liked. But then Coach kind of told me the more of like the wow of why I got that. So
Yeah, so Regents Scholar is super impressive. So how the admission process can how admission process works, right? So the student submits their app. So Warsha submitted her app, and there's a team of readers. Like that's what I did at Berkeley, and then we rate applications yes, maybe, or no. Right? Majority, I think 60-70%, it should be no, and the rest is divided between yes and maybe. And then so from as a reader, there's a very small group of yes, I think like 10%, 10-15% are yeses. And from that group, they ask us, hey, the additional question they ask, like, do you want to recommend this student for Regents? And then we say, yeah or no, right? Again, from that group, a little like a 5% of those should be Regents, the rest are no, right? What Regents is that you believe that this student is the top percent of the incoming class. So, for example, you got the UCI Regents, which
Mhm.
means you are the top X% of the incoming UCI class of 2025.
yes.
2025 kind of thing. So super, super impressive. So regions will help go a long way, is one. So that's part of the thinking
Yeah.
process as well too.
Mhm.
Now you're in a position. So to be honest, like the UC schools aren't amazing at financial aid, like in terms of negotiations. Because
Mhm.
now, if you let's say you got to private schools, you can say, "Hey, this other school gave me so and so, and then can you match it? Can you do better than that?" And private schools can negotiate back with you on there.
Mhm.
UCs probably won't. You can try. You can always try. The
Mhm.
admissions and financial aid operate independently, so they're not going to affect each other. A lot of people
Okay.
are scared, like, oh, if I do something crazy, they're gonna say no to me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're two
Uh-huh.
different departments. They don't talk as much as
Mhm.
well too. So I
Mhm.
would always try to ask for more. So I
Mhm.
would contact financial aid soon and ask,
Mhm.
hey,
Okay.
I know this is the package. Is there anything you can do to help out in terms of the grants or scholarships? And right now, also since you apply, check the portal. There's a bunch of scholarships that you can apply to, like literally right now. That's due in
Okay.
like a week or so.
Okay.
That should help a little more as well too. A lot of people don't know about it, or they just skip it. And I
Yeah.
think apply to all of it.
Uh-huh.
That helps. The next big thing, still apply for scholarships, right? So people think
Yeah.
scholarships are over. Senior year is where you get the most biggest chunk of scholarships.
Yeah.
The next biggest chunk will be freshman year of college. That's
Okay.
your next biggest chunk.
Okay.
So I will still keep up. I'm sure you're applying to a bunch of scholarships now.
Uh-huh.
Keep applying nonstop next year as
Uh-huh.
well too. right? Then after he kind of slow down, and because after that it dies out pretty like hard
Yes.
kind of thing. But next year also a lot in the early part of the year, there'll be a lot of opportunities as a freshman in college to apply to for a bunch of money as well too. So a lot of college kids, they kind of like, oh, I'm done, I'm in, and they kind of forget about it, which
Yeah.
means admit the chances that you getting those ones are higher. So still
Mhm.
keep pushing for scholarships this upcoming for freshman year as well too.
Okay.
So that's that. And speaking on a more broader thing, I wouldn't. This is like my personal tip for law students also. I wouldn't be too afraid if you need to take a loan out for things, to be smart about what you're doing. But like I know someone like you, you're definitely like, oh, I owe this much. Let's work hard to like figure it out. You're not a person like, oh, let me just let it rack up.
Yeah.
You're the type of student I'm like, oh, I'm gonna borrow 10,000, but I'm gonna figure out a way to pay that back as fast as possible, kind of thing. So that's why I have no worry about you if you go down that road. And for some, I took out student loans. It's not a bad thing for me, kind of thing, right? It's you think of it as an investment, right? So the most you'll ever have to borrow is like the entire cost,
Yeah.
which is like living there and everything's like I want to say like $200,000. I'm sure you won't pay close to that. That's like literally you got nothing. Like when you get nothing, that's how much you're paying, right? And then but let's say even assume you take a big loan for that amount of money, right? $20,000. Do you think that once you get your college degree, you'll at least make like $50,000?
Yeah.
For sure, right? For sure. That UC degrees can help you for sure. And as you go further in life, you're pretty smart. You're the type of student that keeps working harder and harder. You're gonna get raises, or you're gonna find other job opportunities that will pay you more and more and more. For a fact, you will hit six figures. I have a guarantee. Whatever you do in life, you're gonna hit six figures, and especially if you want to be a doctor as well too. I think for sure you hit that six figures doing that route also, right? Now you think about like I'm racking all this money in. Would you have money to pay back all the loans that you bought at the beginning? Right. So it's one of those like if I gave you $10, no, if you gave me $10 and I gave you $100, will you take it? It's one of those analogies of like, but I won't give it to you for another year though. So it's one of those like, yeah, think about like, and that's why it's that, and for a lot of that's a scary part, right? I'm like, I'm owing someone money,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not gonna see it. But if you trust in yourself, believe in yourself, I'm going to an amazing school. I'm in an amazing program. I'm gonna get an awesome job when I get out. I'm gonna work my way up, right? The money I'd make because I went down this route, right? And I'm sure like because you got to the top schools that you did, right? Your that name will help you get a higher paying job, or the people that you'll meet, not really the degree, but the people and the opportunities you'll meet as a result of this. And I think that's the biggest like takeaway as well for you. Like at the end of the day, don't rely on the name of the school because no one really cares. And then the big round thing, no one cares. But the opportunities you'll meet, right? So no matter where you go, even if you go to like San Diego, you'll probably meet a really awesome professor that might hook you up with other opportunities that will push you a lot faster as well too. Right? And that's the most important part I feel in college, the networking factor, not really the name of the school, name of the major, all this stuff. It's the people you meet and the connections you make. I think that's the biggest one. So that is to say, don't be afraid to take loans if you need to. I will try to max out all the other opportunities though. But if you need help, let me know. I can help you with the loans and as well too. And like I'll recommend a few ones that I know are good, that are like have free low stuff as well too. Like yeah, so for sure. Cool.
Yeah, and one more question.
Yeah.
There was for UCI, there was something that on the top like of my, the financial aid portal thing, it said that I might qualify for the blue and gold opportunity. And then I think from that I was like, oh my god, like you don't have to pay anything for that. But is that true?
It is actually super true. So the UCs have something called F2 programs. One is called the Blue and Gold program, Blue and Gold Opportunity Program. The other one's called the Middle Class Scholarship. So the Blue and Gold Opportunity Program, depending how good you get it, basically, sure, if you get it, tuition covered. So you don't have to pay for tuition. The only thing you have to cover is housing, right? Kind of thing, right? So your first year, if you dorm, it's gonna cost a little bit just because dorming costs more than like apartments. But I do recommend dorming your first year, just so you can meet people faster. Get people like build that strong group of friends right away. I think that's more important than like the few thousand that you'll invest versus like living off campus or living wherever else, which is a lot cheaper. But after your freshman year, then move out, go to an apartment. It's much cheaper. And then if you do keep your blue and gold, which means your grades are still good. And your tuition, what you're really paying out of pocket really is just your apartment, which usually won't be too bad. right? So that's that. Blue and gold will cover tuition. Sometimes it might cover housing as well too, depending on how good of a blue and gold you got.
Yeah.
But for sure, it'll cover tuition. Housing is a question mark depending kind of where your housing is.
Mhm.
So technically, if you think about it that way, if you got the Regents and you got blue and gold, blue
Mhm.
and gold will cover tuition, and that Regents will help cover the housing for you as well too. So technically, it
Awesome.
is completely free if you want to go down that route and not worry about paying back.
That
But
would be
that's this is more
yeah.
things to think about.
Uh-huh.
At the end of the day, like it's a bunch of things you juggle, right? There's no
Yeah.
magic. There's nobody I've said you should go here. It all
Yeah.
depends on the student, what your
Mhm.
goals are,
Mhm.
and I think eventually, like in a month, because you'll for sure make your decision on May 1st.
Yeah.
I will just make it and never look back is the thing. But if you still
Uh-huh.
have thoughts, play with the different options, talk to people, your
Yeah.
family. I'm sure you're close to your family, so talk to
Yes.
them, get their
Uh-huh.
input.
Mhm.
But the one thing I do want to recommend add on to that, talking to your parents,
Mhm.
listen to them, but at the end they know is your life. I think for me, it took me a lot
Mhm.
longer to like learn that concept.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like at the end of the day, you're gonna be one going to college, not them, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna be one going through
Uh-huh.
these classes, doing this stuff.
Mhm.
If you, let's say for example, you visit UCI and you like just hate it because it's like very
Mhm.
slow, very
Mhm.
quiet. It's actually
Mhm.
very super quiet school,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And you actually love like the loudness of things and that, like the
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
schools do. You're gonna
Yeah.
hate it there, right? And
Yeah.
what's that free ride is if you hate your experience
Mhm.
there, kind
Mhm.
of thing. So like for me, like I turned down a full ride from UCLA. I had a complete full ride from UCLA,
Yes.
housing
Oh
and
wow.
tuition.
Uh-huh.
Turned it down
Uh-huh.
for Berkeley, where they only covered tuition for me, and I had to pay for
Uh-huh.
housing. Kind of similar to you, like I had to
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
for tuition was covered, but I had to pay for housing
Yeah.
for me. And then, but for me, I wouldn't. Thinking back, I wouldn't pick the other choice ever. Like
Mhm.
Berkeley
Uh-huh.
completely changed who I was. Made me.
Mhm.
If I didn't go there, I wouldn't be here. Kind of
Yeah.
thing. I definitely appreciate the route that I went down.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I would definitely. I did talk to my parents. They told me
Yeah.
UCLA. They all told
Yeah.
me UCLA.
Uh-huh.
I didn't choose UCLA, but
Yeah.
I knew where they're coming from, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And for me, for them, it was just like being like, because I've been their baby. I'm their oldest
Yeah.
boy. So
Yeah.
then
Uh-huh.
like they don't want me to go super far away. They
Yeah.
want me
They
to
would
UCI
be.
because
Uh-huh.
close, but like UCLA is like closer, but Berkeley is really far.
Yes.
But
Uh-huh.
but then for me, it was like, let me just call you every day. So literally on my way to school every day, I call my mom.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then every day walking home, I call my dad. So I didn't take the bus, even though it's a
Yeah.
20-minute thing. I
Uh-huh.
used the time to talk to my parents. So that was how we kept in like
In
our
touch.
relationship,
Uh-huh.
right? Because like that's all they want. They want to not
Yeah.
lose me or
Yes.
whatever. So I
Got
was
it.
like,
Yeah.
cool. We'll keep it somehow. And that's how it worked for us, right? On
Yeah.
my way to school, 20-minute walk. Call
Yes.
my mom on my way to
Mhm.
nice 20-minute chat with her every day. And on my
Mhm.
way home, my dad got off of work. So we talked on his way home and I was going home. So like it worked.
Yeah.
We found a way to make it work. Right.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, like no matter who you talk to, your friends, your
Mhm.
parents, at the end is your call. And then
Yeah.
wherever you're gonna go, just make sure you're happy
Mhm.
the whole way.
Yes. Okay. That would be
Cool.
great. Thank you so for all that advice,
Hmm.
Coach.
For sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
We have you have time for like a few minutes left?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Okay. We have a
course.
few questions. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and try to answer a few questions as well too.
Mhm.
First question is, what were your grades in high school? Did you get any C's? If so, how many? Can you share your GPA?
Yeah, so I did not get any C's during from my freshman to junior year because that's what the UC GPA is composed of those 3 years. I got straight A's, so my GPA was a 4.0 in terms of unweighted, but then my weighted was about like 4.3, somewhere there. So my GPA was pretty high, even though I didn't take the SAT or ACT scores. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think any student who tells me they have a UC GPA over like a 4.3 is like
Mhm.
lying because I think mathematically you can't even get anything past a 4.3 because they
Yeah.
cap you. They cap you at 4 honors
Yeah.
credits,
Exactly. Mhm.
which is really just two classes, two
Uh-huh.
honors sophomore, two honors junior, and every other
Mhm.
classes is normal, like weighted as normal
Yeah.
classes.
Yeah.
Next one, what major did you apply to? Was it different for different UCs?
No, actually, my major was bio for all the six that I applied to. So yeah, it was more of like biological sciences, and the college is biological sciences within each university. Hmm.
So yeah, I think for her, she lucky the same major. I think if you pick like the common majors like
Yeah.
math, computer science, they're consistent.
Yeah.
There's some majors where you do have to kind of be different a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But the big thing keep in mind for anyone else as well too is that when you're applying to a certain major, you're applying to that college within that university. kind of thing. So when Warsha applied to her bio, she applied to wherever that department of bio she's applying to, not directly that major. So that's something to keep in mind. A lot of people are like, "Oh, this major is going to determine who I am." No, they're competing you against that college that you're applying into.
Yes.
When students write their clubs and activities, where do they have to submit the proof?
I mean,
You can answer first.
for me, honestly, there wasn't any place to submit for proof. It was basically, if I was passionate, like if they understand that what I'm saying is genuine, it's like telling the truth, then that's what matters. And obviously, I didn't lie. I told the exact things that I did, and I guess you can see that with the way that I wrote it too. So so definitely, it's the fact that you can write it in a way that connects to you and is like special and unique to you.
For sure. And then the admission side answer of that is there is a team on every campus that does like audit, but it's like very, very small. So I think like 2% or something, or 2 to 5% of the incoming pool gets audited. So statistically, you probably won't get audited from that like percentage number. But there's something at the very, very end of your application. It's the integrity agreement, right? The integrity thing where you say that everything on this application is true. I'm not lying. And you're going. And at the end of the day, like, I'm sure there's people who lie. I'm sure there's people who get by. Right? I'm sure people who cheat their way through. At the end of the day, they're gonna suffer because you're not. It's not that you're cheating yourself. It's true, like because the thing is, getting to college is one thing, right?
But like surviving in college is another.
That's the next one. I think so a lot of my students now they got to that college round, which I think is over. Whereas actually that's the beginning because now it gets much harder from there as well too. So if you can cheat your way up to that, but if you weren't like at that level, because like there's a reason why Warsha is in all these amazing schools because she's that amazing to be in those schools. But then if like you lied your way there, when you're gonna find out real quick that it's not a joke when you get to these top end schools and all the schools that you got in are top notch schools. They're not like Mickey Mouse University or anything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do colleges see dual enrollment classes as they would an AP class?
Okay, so me, I did not take any dual enrollment classes. I only took AP classes within my school because one of the things that my counselor said, which, basically was like, take the classes that are offered to you at your school instead of kind of going to college and taking it if it's already there at my school. So I kind of took that route and also it was efficient to me just because I did a lot of other extracurriculars. I didn't have the time to go to another university, even though like community colleges are very near my house. Like it's like very close to me, but I just don't think I had the time to like specifically go to college again, so that's why I kind of focus more within school classes.
Super awesome. Yeah, and the answer to that is yes. So dual enrollment, AP, IB, and honors level courses, they're all honors classes kind of thing. If you're an in-state student, there's a website. I'll post it in the group after. It's the course articulation website by the UCOP, University of California Office of the President. If you're from California, you can search up your school and you'll see which classes are honors level courses and not kind of thing, because not every honors level class is an honors level class. Is a fun thing. A lot of parents don't know until later on. I'm like, oh no, kind of thing. But yes, that. And if you're out of state, only APs, IBs, and dual enrollment classes give you that honors credit, not the normal honors. Does class rank matter to you? Do you think class rank mattered in your?
I think yes. I mean, I was in the top 1% of my top 10% of my school. I'm sorry, and then so I definitely think that does play a role, specifically like in UCs, and like that was something that a lot of my counselors told me too within school was that yes, like you don't have to be like one, but like as long as you're within the top rank and you manage to do other stuff as well, that's important. And I think I did a good job to be in the top 10, 5%. I think of the whole class.
Super awesome. Yeah, I think, and the admissions answer to that is yes and no to that as well too. So it matters in the sense that because you were top 5%, you fell under ELC, which is eligibility in the local context. I mean, you're top 9%. That's matching number. Top 9% of your high school class or top 9% of the incoming college class. Both of those are the ones that if you're in there, it has a little special mark saying that you are ELC. But if not, then no. Kind of things, but it's not a complete make it or break it either. If you aren't, I see a lot of students get in not being ELC. Same thing, vice versa as well. So like I think, like you said as well too, academics. You're strong in academics and you're strong in activities as well too, right? So people think it's only about strictly grades, and then they get really sad when their valedictorian gets rejected from all these universities because that's all they have, kind of thing,
Yeah.
as well. Next one. Do you have any tips for asking for letters of recommendation?
I did actually ask for a few of my scholarships and also for the honors colleges. Some of them do ask for a letter of rec for CSUs. I mean, I just because the thing with me is that I'm very close to a lot of my teachers and counselors, so asking wasn't really difficult for me. Just because I would just write an email saying like I'm in the process of college, applications, and the fact that I do need this letter of rec, and I think that this teacher is someone that I aspire to, and that I truly mean it, and that's why I asked them. But yeah, so basically it's more of like an easy thing. Personally, for me, if you're more of like a closer, more like connected person to your teachers, so I think that's important as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think the other thing to keep in mind as well too is teachers want to help you. Like they want to see you succeed. So don't be scared. They're gonna say nice things. But then a few tips, like practical tips. So there's like take notes, everyone. Notepad out. So first thing you want to do, I think Warsha has a strong connection with her teachers, so that helps her completely that way. So if you're fortunate to have that connection with a teacher, that's amazing. Do that. If you don't, or it's not as amazing, you want to prep the teacher as much as possible, right? The teacher or whoever you want to ask as much as possible. So one, ask them a long time ahead of time. Hey, I'm starting applicant basically like this summer for juniors right now. Hey, teacher, counselor, or coach, or whoever it is, right? I'm applying to so-and-so. I may need a letter of recommendation. Would you be able to give me a strong letter of recommendation? Yes or no, kind of thing. And they'll say yes or no. Most likely they'll say yes, unless something's wrong, then they'll say no. But most people say yes, right? So that's the first one. You want to ask them ahead of time, so it's not last minute. I have been asked many, many times within like a few days notice. I'm like, coach, can you write? I'm like, yeah, of course. When to do? Tomorrow. I'm like, what? Kind of thing. So if you ask ahead of time, they'll expect it, and then it gives them more time that as well too. The other most practical tip though is as a reader. So the UC app, for your apps, did you have to do a supplemental application for yours or no?
For me,
Yeah.
no, I did not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So for UC students, you may get a supplemental application, which meant you were in the maybe. So that means your app you got yeses for both of them. Congrats. For students who got maybes, you get a supplemental application, and that asks for letters of recommendation, right? So what for any school, what I recommend is, especially for college apps, you want to give the recommender your application as well too, and say, do not say anything I wrote in here. Right, even better, which I prefer as a recommender. Give me a list of things you want me to say. Right, it's not wrong or fake. It's what you want me to add that you forgot, for example, in your application. Want me to add on, and I'll of course add on what I think as well too. Right, but that'll make the recommender's job really easy, and the more easy you make their job, the better the write you one. Versus like, hey, can you write me one? I'm like, about what? Anything. I'm like, oh, that's hard, kind of thing. But the more like, hey, can you talk about how I did this? How can I highlight this and this? It makes it super simple. And then the reason why you don't want to have them copy the application is when you're reading the applications, they'll read the application, then the letter of rec. Most letters of rec suck, by the way, because it's the same thing. Right? They say everything that's on the application already. So then there's nothing new that we learn. So in the realm of admissions, that's actually a missed opportunity. So that letter of rec, no matter how hard the teacher did, then that didn't help you at all. That's why it should be new information there. Cool. I think this was my question. You mentioned reading the essays. Do you know the student's GPA class taken on just purely essays? What stands out? What is the wow factor? So we see everything, right? We see every single part. I see GPA. I see the classes they took. There's a few who asked this question. Millie asked this question. Millie, I made a video on academics and activities. Go back in the group and look for those. Though I explained what the readers are looking for in those two sections. We might do an encore maybe next week of like breaking down what the readers are looking for kind of thing. I think working with Warsha, like she had everything, right? Grades were awesome, activities super strong kind of thing. So now the essays have explain think of the essay as the missing holes, right? So there's the grades factor, and by the time they're a junior, there's not much you can do anymore. It's like there. That's why, like, for me, I prefer working with like eighth and ninth graders because you have time to like kind of
Yeah.
mold anything you want. But when it gets closer to the end, there's not much you can do anymore. It's like, okay, let's tweak what we can. And the personal insight questions is like the easiest way to kind of fill in all the gaps and the holes, basically, in your application. So what stands out with the wow factor, the entire application kind of thing. There's no one specific thing, but the PIQ is a big component, though. That's all. That's why for all my coaching students, I think with you and everyone, that's the most time, the section I spend the most time on, is the PIQs.
Yeah.
This is a you question. Did you send AP scores with your application?
No, I did not. I basically self-reported them. And you basically, I think the way that you do it is that once you select the school that you want to go to, you kind of commit to it. Then you have to send the scores by like June or July, but you don't do it right now.
Super awesome. Yeah, I think it's the same thing with the classes as well too. Like you never submitted your transcripts yet either.
No.
So with the UCs, they work on a self-reported system. It means you report your own grades, report your own everything, and then they're trusting you that everything's correct. By the way, so they're trusting that everything is correct. So by the time now they told her, hey, you got in, super awesome, and by June you'll submit everything that you need to submit really by then. Right. And then if let's say a Warsha has told us she got straight A's, but actually got like straight C's and D's kind of thing, right? She completely lied. And then on the integrity page, that basically, in her signing it, basically said that like she's being honest. So technically, they could take back her acceptance letter in June, which is the worst case because like by then it's too late. You can't even switch to any other schools kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about having integrity and the whole this. And I know Warsha, I saw her grade, I saw everything. She's good to go. So these acceptances, she's not gonna go anywhere. Super awesome. Cool. Any last tips and tricks you want to share with parents? A lot of our parents here are juniors. Our parents are junior students. We have a few sophomores and freshmen. Any tips you want to recommend for them or their kids?
Yeah, so I would say the main thing is that when you're starting to do all these like extracurricular things and all these, try to do it like as early as possible. Don't just like Coach said, I think you can't change anything afterwards, so it's kind of that you try, have your like goal. It doesn't matter which university, but have a mind that you want to be a successful student. So like starting from ninth grade, like I personally, because it's such a big opportunity for me, especially coming from a different country to study here, I always had that idea of I should do the best that I can. So that was basically something that I wanted to pursue during like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. I had that in my mind. So just don't wait until later. Try to get into clubs and all those things starting from earlier on, and something that you like, something that you actually want to do, not just for college, but something you're passionate about, because then when you're writing these essays, you have a lot more an easier flow when you're writing them.
Super awesome. That's super great advice as well too. And with that, thank you so much, Warsha, for your time. It was awesome. We'll keep chatting about your colleges. Now is the fun part. Now, no more stress. You got into every single school you applied to, so that's the hard part done. Now the next hard part, picking a school, and we'll update the group. I'll update the group, which your final call is. Would be super exciting. But yeah.
Coach,
So.
One more question though.
Yes.
Okay, so for financial aid, do I accept it now, from schools, or do I accept it once I decide which one I want to go to?
I would wait. Okay. Now still negotiation. So once you say yes, then it's locked in. I will try. UC stuck at it, but it doesn't hurt to try. It's one of those schools will never give you a worse offer.
Yeah.
After, kind of thing.
Yes.
So if you're if they gave me 5,000, I want 10,000 kind of thing, and they're like, no. I go down to 3,000. They'll never negotiate with you. Whatever their offer originally is, that's the minimum they'll ever go to. Yes. So now I'll just kind of poke a little bit, hey, can you help me any other way? As well too. I would if you have a work study option, that's something else you can ask. Hey, can I increase my work study option there as well too? Because the jobs on there, the work study jobs pay a lot more than normal jobs, and they're much chiller, like sitting in a library kind of thing. So it's super easy jobs. You get paid really well as well too. So then, but if you max out on work study, you're out of money to work with. So I would that's something easy. I would ask for more grants, ask for scholarships that for admitted students. That's an easy one. Increasing your work study is good. If you think about loans, aim for more. It's called subsidized loans. Stay away from unsubsidized.
Okay.
Subsidized
Okay.
means that the interest that you get onto it, the governments are supposed to pay for you.
Mhm.
Unsubsidized means you get interest right away.
Okay.
So then, so you want to like delay that much as long as possible, and then
Yes.
they'll give you into graduation plus 6 months. So they'll give
Okay.
you into
Got it.
December 2025 to
Okay.
start
Okay.
finally paying it back if you go down the loan option.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you kind of worry free ish until like 6 months out after that.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Mhm.
So a lot of the universities have sent like the financial aid stuff, right? So like
Mhm.
the options that like the offers that they give me. So you're telling me like I shouldn't accept them all right now, or should I wait until I decide which one I want to go to?
I would. I
Okay.
would. And then once you're down to your like your last few,
Yes.
see if
Then
they could
contact you.
negotiate.
Uh-huh.
They can
Mhm.
negotiate. There's you. I think you also need to let them know by like May 1st as well too.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So to let them just let them so just you have time. So
Yeah.
there's it's just like admissions we work with. Like there's no need to apply early. I think you were done super early as well too. I'm like no.
Yes.
Let's just keep like working on. You don't want to wait too late though. Don't wait
Yes.
until May 2nd.
Right.
That's too
Yes.
late. Kind of thing, right? Maybe like April 29th, 30th, submit it. Be
Okay.
happy. Throw a little party for yourself. Record TikTok.
Yes.
Be super
Which
excited that
we're
way.
very famous for.
Yes. So do that. But then there's no rush at all. Literally, there's nothing. You won't get more money or more anything if you apply early. Some people know. Then they just want to be like, I'm done with it, and just
Yeah.
doing
Mhm.
it. But you
Mhm.
have time. It looks like you have a lot of things to kind of juggle, pound, look
Yeah.
into different options, figuring things out, and you have a month. You have a month and a day
Yes.
basically to kind of figure everything out. So I would utilize as much as possible. Latest May 1st, let them know the schools. Oh, you don't need to let the schools know that you don't want to get in there either.
Okay. Okay. So you
Don't
shouldn't like decline. Like you know how they ask like if you decline the offer or not. Like should I
you
do that?
can
Uh-huh.
if you don't do anything by May 1st, they'll just assume it's no.
Okay. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
not like if I do it's like a bad thing or anything.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's
Yes.
that.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Cool.
basically it for me.
Super awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
Of
Thank you,
course.
parents. I see a comment. Kim, let me message you after this. But thank you everyone for joining us live. If you're watching the replay, hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to drop a comment of a takeaway you have, a lesson you've learned as well too. But besides that, I'll see everyone on next week's live trading. And I might drop a few freebies this week as well in the group. So thank you. We also thank you for everyone for inviting your friends in this group as well too. It's growing really fast. I'm super happy. So thank you inviting all your other parent friends in this group. But besides that, thank you, Warsha, for your time. Hopefully that was helpful for you and helpful for all our families as well too. And for everyone else, I'll see you all next week.
All right.